Welcome back to talknorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
I woke up this morning with the sun down, shining in.
Roy, we were both at the ballpark on Tuesday night, and I had the privilege of speaking with Anthony LaPanta, which is a really big deal. You had the privilege of doing a lengthy pregame show with him where you guys got involved with batting practice. And I just want to know, how much did you learn? Because, Anthony, he's got so much knowledge, so much information. He can't contain it all. It oozes out. It gets all over all of us. I just want to know, how much smarter are you today than you were yesterday?
Every day is a learning experience with Anthony on a lot of different levels. So I feel like I'm smarter every time I've been around him.
The great thing is I had people respond. I put out a tweet along those lines yesterday. I got a bunch of tweets saying, "Oh man, you should have seen him when he's had kids in Little League. He'd be out there shirtless with Jock Jams #1 on his boom box." And I'm looking at him going, "Yeah, that sounds about right."
Let's just say he's into it.
Oh, Anthony, he's such a good dude. There are people I needle because I don't like them. In this case, I'm needling Anthony because I do like him. He's a beauty.
All kidding aside, he's a wonderful guy and a very highly intelligent dude, and I really enjoy working with him. On FSN, I think the two of us have a good rapport, and we get some good information out, I think. So.
I liked it better when we were ripping him. Let's go back to ripping.
Okay.
He's Roy Smalley. This is Roy Smalley's Chin Music. This is our baseball show on talknorth.com. Check out all the shows on the network at talknorth.com. Subscribe to one show or all the shows at iTunes or your favorite podcast app. You can go on iTunes and rate us if you're going to be nice. Thanks to berrycoffee.com, Whizkids.tech. Tony Hoaglund, your State Farm agent in Champlin, for sponsoring the program. If you'd like to sponsor this program or the network, you can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. We actually have some really good Twitter questions and some good email questions, some good questions left over from last week. So I'm going to skip kind of the things that are bugging me that I want to get to. We'll save those for later in the show, and we're going to let the listeners, the fans, kind of dictate some of the early topics here. We had a couple of hangover questions from last week that we didn't get to that we really wanted to get to, and let's start.
I'm not answering questions about my hangover.
I will answer a question about my hangover. I am such a lightweight. I worked the game last night. I got home last night. I just had a tiny bit of bourbon just because I like the nightcap.
Yep.
I feel terrible today. It's horrible. I don't know if it's age or just being a wimp or what, but man, I hate it.
Well, I think it has to do with being a wimp, because I saw that foul ball come back in the press box last night.
Yeah, I was pretty quick.
You were quick diving, absolutely. Yes. You had no part of that.
Nope.
I was yelling at you, trying to get your attention.
I didn't hear you.
Sorry. I was yelling, saying, "Oh, you just missed it."
I got as far away from it as possible.
It just missed you.
I need my hands for typing, and I need my hands for playing the guitar. I never understand someone who isn't like a gifted athlete or hasn't practiced it, just sticking their hand up in front of a smoked foul ball. I need my left hand.
Ladies and gentlemen, please don't try to catch foul balls. I mean, pop flies are one thing. They come down,
right,
and you're not going to get maimed. But, I mean, just dive for your life if a line drive's coming at you, please. I won't let any of my family sit anywhere in the ballpark that's not behind a screen.
Yeah. I mean, I was at a Saints game the other day, did a piece on George Samus, and he's pitching batting practice, and these guys are just raking, and somebody brings their entire family down to the rail and just stands there at like 100 feet away from these guys hitting batting practice fastballs.
It's scary.
The parents need to be really aware of that stuff. All right, so a couple of questions we wanted to get to this week. First one, and I apologize, I don't have the names of the people who asked these questions, but they're good questions. First of all, let's start here. Favorite announcers?
Oh, favorite announcers. I think John Smoltz is doing the best
He's really good.
color analysis on TV right now, and it pains me to say that about a pitcher. But he and Jim Cott is another example of a pitcher I think that does that has always done great work. But John Smoltz I think, has really done a great service to people watching postseason baseball, and I'm proud of him. I think he's doing a good job. I personally like Cal Ripken an awful lot when he's been on. I think Cal's been really good. I don't think Cal cares an awful lot about doing that as a career. He's got a lot of things going on, but shortstops tend to pay attention, know a lot about the game, and so it's nice to hear a brother shortstop out when he's been doing occasionally. But now that Smoltz has done so well, that and maybe they'll use Cal maybe in the postseason or not. But when they had them both on, I thought it was really interesting.
And complete sidelight, when I was out at the 3M Championship a couple weekends ago, I talked to Tom Lehman. I thought Tom Lehman, when he went on the British Open, was fantastic.
Oh, I agree. He was phenomenal. Really great insight, interesting stuff that you don't hear from everybody else. And just his whole, Tom. I mean, it's just his whole demeanor is just so wonderful and relaxed. And I agree with you. I thought he added a tremendous amount to that terrific British Open as it was.
Absolutely. And I asked him if he was interested in doing that, and he said he really, he thinks of it as not only something he enjoys doing, but something he can really help, be an ambassador for golf. It kind of
I hope he does.
Yeah,
I hope they give him a chance to do that because he'll be fantastic.
Absolutely. The other question I wanted to get to this week is someone asked about what was your most memorable at bat, and if anybody's brand new to the show or brand new to Roy, sometimes I think I neglect to just tell people who you are. Roy's an all-star shortstop. He played for the Twins. He played for the Yankees. He was with the '87 team that won a World Series. If he was playing today, he'd be making about $20 million. So that's where we're coming from. When we ask
Enough of the sad news.
I know. Yeah, sorry, didn't mean to hit a nerve there.
Now I'm depressed.
Yeah. So most memorable at bat.
My most memorable at bat, and I mean I played 13 years, and so I mean there were a lot of them. I mean, when I hit a 3-run home run in the bottom of the 8th inning in Yankee Stadium, not long after I'd gotten traded there to win a game. It was 1-1 going into the bottom of the 8th, and we got a couple of guys on, and Seattle brought in the inspector, Bill Caudill, who was their closer at the time, and I hit a fastball up in the third deck in right field in Yankee Stadium to essentially win the game. It gave us a 3-run lead with Gossage coming in.
There you go.
So we were it might as well have been a walk-off at that point. And I got called out of the dugout. The first time as a Yankee, right? You just don't forget being called out of the dugout for a curtain call. The first time in the stadium wearing pinstripes. And so there were a lot of there were things like that that were. My at bat in the 7th inning of the 7th game of the World Series against Todd Worrell in '87, and I actually should probably tell that story how that whole thing came about. So that was it's that one. It's as a Yankee in Yankee Stadium, and it's that one in the '87 series. But there was another one that was one of the most intense at bats, other than the World Series with the score tied 2-2 late in the game. But it was either 78 or 79. I think it was 78 because I know Billy Martin was the manager. I don't remember if he was the manager in 79, but it was either 78 or 79, and I was smoking hot at the plate, and the Yankees were in town, and Ron Guidry was pitching, and Ron Guidry of 25-2 fame or whatever he was that one year. And I came up with bases loaded. We had loaded the bases off a Gator, and he had this great live fastball and a devastating back foot slider to right-handers. I mean, he was just known for that nasty slider. And I laid off a couple of them. He threw me a couple of them and got to 2-0, so I knew I thought a fastball was coming. I was sitting on fastball, and he threw me one. I just hit a bullet down the left field line, and it went a foot foul. And so now it's 2-1. He throws me that back foot slider again. I laid off of it. Now it's 3-1. I get back on fastball, and I hit the same ball. I hit a rocket. He threw me a fastball. I hit a rocket down the left field line. It was just foul. So I've come now 2 pitches from Guidry of clearing the bases and putting us ahead. And all of a sudden, now it's 3-2. And all of a sudden, Billy Martin comes out of the dugout to go. And I was, what the heck is Billy doing going out there? Because that's when you make a pitching change, right? He's not going to make a pitching change 3-2 with a bases loaded and run Guidry out there. Sure enough, he takes Guidry out and brings Goose Gossage in.
No kidding.
And I'm going. So I go back to the dugout and switch helmets from the right-handed helmet to the left-handed helmet because I was hitting right-handed against Guidry, and now I got 1 pitch with the bases loaded and a 3-2 count against Goose Gossage. So he takes his warm-up pitches, and I walk up there, and I'm going, it's the most intense at-bat I've ever had because I'm battling my rear end off of one, potential Hall of Famer, guy, for all intents and purposes could be in the Hall of Fame. And now I got 1 pitch, and he could throw it anywhere. He could throw a fastball, he could throw a slider, he could throw it on the outside corner, inside. But all I knew was going to be 98. And my heart was pumping. I just got on fastball and said, if he throws me a slider, I'm going to miss it by 3 feet. I don't care. I've got 1 chance here. And sure enough, he threw me a fastball, and I hit a 1-hopper off Chris Chandler's shoulder and ended up driving in a couple of runs. But it was that whole sequence was one of the most, if not the most. It's right up there with the World Series at bat in the 7th game as in terms of intensity.
Wow. Well, let's do tell me about the Whirl at Bat if we think Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com, Minneapolis company serving all of Minnesota. And, Roy's friend, Steve Brem, I've met Steve myself. I've followed his good works. You can find, all the stuff that Berry Coffee does in the community at berrycoffee.com. They have a very elaborate website with all kinds of information. Just to remind you, they can supply with your business with cups and lids, Flavia or Altera type coffee, K-Cups, K-Cup coffee, K-Cup cocoa, K-Cup cider, K-Cup tea, soda. Most of the stuff they have is very green and very healthy, but if you want a Coke, you can get your Coke here. Whole bean coffee, bulk coffee, portion pack coffee, water, sports drinks, creamers, sweeteners, syrups, instant beverages, juices and specialty drinks, snacks, teas, paper goods, and janitorial stuff. And you can also set up one of their micro markets and sell all this stuff to your employees and make sure that your employees have healthy snacks and stuff that's positive energy stuff in your workplace.
If they don't have it, you don't need it for your business. It's a complete service company, emphasis on the service part of it, as we've talked many times.
So check out berrycoffee.com. Again, they'll have all their products, all their services, and we can attest to their services. So tell me about the Whirl at Bat.
So we come home from St. Louis and down 3-2 in '87. Right, we won. We won the first 2 games at home. We went down there, lost 3 straight. We come back and we're facing elimination in the Metrodome in Game 6, and everybody knows what happened. John Tudor has beaten us 5-2 or 3, and my dearest friend Don Baylor hit that 2-run home run to tie the game, and Herbie hits the grand slam, and we win Game 6. Well, my parents had come back to watch the World Series. They actually were living near in the St. Louis area, just as luck would have it. My dad's originally from Missouri, and when they retired, they moved to a golf community outside of St. Louis, where my sister was living, and my dad kind of back to his roots and all that kind of stuff, and thought they'd be closer to us here in the Midwest. So they were up for the first 2 games, and then went down to St. Louis. Back home to their home for the next 3, and then came up and stayed with us again for Games 6 and 7. So after we won Game 6, we go home, and my kids are in bed. My wife and my mom go to bed. My dad and I stayed up, had a beer, and just talking about things. And so he said, "Well, what do you think?" And I said, "Why? We're going to win. I mean, now that we won that game, I feel supremely confident we're going to win." He said, "Well, I don't mean that. I mean, what do you think about you getting in the game?"